Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. This week is a study in contrasts in Washington. The House of Representatives, House Republicans are standing up and leading, providing strong, principled leadership to address the crises facing this nation. And in the Senate, Harry Reid and the Senate Democrats have presided over a do-nothing Senate. Our country is facing a crisis at the border. This year, 90,000 unaccompanied children are expected to cross illegally into this country. As the president has rightly noted, this is a humanitarian crisis, but it is a crisis of his own creation. The direct cause of this crisis is President Obama's lawlessness. We cannot solve the crisis at the border until we end President Obama's amnesty. The Border Patrol interviewed some 200 people who had come recently illegally, many of them children, asked them the simple question, why did you come? Just a few years ago in 2011, there were only 6,000 kids coming. Now, it's 90,000. What changed? 95% of those interviewed by the Border Patrol said, we're coming because we believe we will get amnesty. We believe we will get a permiso and be allowed to stay. The only way to solve the crisis at the border is to end the promise of amnesty that is causing these children to come and causing these little boys and little girls to be victimized, to be physically assaulted, to be sexually assaulted by violent drug cartels and coyotes that are bringing them into this country. Now, President Obama just this weekend announced to the country that it is his intention to unilaterally grant amnesty to millions more who are here illegally. But he said with a cynicism that even in Washington is notable. He understands the American people don't like that policy, so he's going to helpfully wait until after the election to violate the law and illegally grant them amnesty. President Obama has decided this election will be a referendum on amnesty. In the Senate, I was proud to introduce legislation to put into law to make it unequivocal that the president prospectively has no authority to grant amnesty. The House of Representatives stood up and led. Representative Marsha Blackburn filed companion legislation to that, and the House stayed in session and passed legislation to address the crisis at the border, to take amnesty off the table, to end the promise of amnesty. Sadly, on this side of Capitol Hill, Harry Reid and the Senate Democrats refused to allow the Senate to vote on legislation making clear that the president has no authority to grant amnesty. And indeed, Harry Reid dismissed the Senate and sent the senators home for August after doing nothing to address the crisis at the border. Now, all of our friends here in the media like to write about dysfunction in Washington. The facts are clear. One body is functioning. One body is leading. The House of Representatives stayed here, did its work, and passed legislation to take amnesty off the table. And the only reason it hasn't passed into law is that Harry Reid and the Senate Democrats refuse to vote on it, which means when the president tries to unilaterally grant amnesty, and he has promised to do so, this year, by the end of the year, right after the election, every Senate Democrat who stood with Harry Reid against allowing a vote on this legislation, every single Senate Democrat bears the responsibility for the president's illegal amnesty. And as much as the decision to delay the amnesty until after the election is an attempt to avoid democratic accountability, born, frankly, of not thinking too highly of the American people, thinking that the American people can't figure that out. Well, let me tell you, I think the American people are a lot smarter than the president seems to give them credit for. Amnesty ensures that tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of little boys and little girls will continue to be victimized, to be physically abused, to be sexually abused. Amnesty is not compassionate. It is not humane. It is exacerbating a crisis at the border. It is lawless and it is wrong. The House of Representatives has stood up and led, and we are here today to call on one very simple thing, which is for Harry Reid to allow the Senate to do its job, to actually show up and schedule a vote and let senators go on record whether or not they support amnesty. If senators support amnesty for those here illegally, let them look in the eyes of their constituents before Election Day and say, this is what I support. You let me know if you agree or not. With that, I'm very happy to recognize my friend, Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, who took the lead in the House of Representatives taking on amnesty.
Thank you so much.